To the DIY webinar series. This is actually our last webinar before we all meet in person in Berlin. I hope you're looking forward to it as much as I am. I certainly am. The 14th to the 16th of June, one of the biggest DIY events in the world happening. Hope you're there. By the way, if you're one of the last 4 or 5 people in the world who don't have a ticket yet, I would suggest you get on and register as soon as you can. If you've been watching these webinars, you've been thinking, I must get to that. Please do as soon as you can, because I know the shutters are coming down pretty soon on registrations. So get in and make sure you register. But, you know, it's an amazing event. I've been looking at the delegate list. I think we have retailers from literally every single continent in the world, DIY retailers coming to that. Now, I say that, I don't know, is there DIY retailers in the Antarctic? I don't know. Maybe the penguins all got together and launched a P&Q. That's a really bad joke. But anyway, like everyone coming, so yeah, please make sure you get your ticket. It would be very disappointing not to make it an amazing agenda. So lots of stuff has been happening in the world since we last met each other. We've had there's a new king in the UK. The WHO officially ended the pandemic, which is amazing because actually, you know, and the topic is today is relevant to that. All those behaviors, all that strange time for the last 3 years in terms of new values for consumers, the lockdown, the sheltering, the effect on business economies. The question is, you know, now that we're out of it officially, what happens to consumer behavior? Does it go back to normal? Has the what we've been through changed consumers forever? What do we need to do as brands and retailers to better connect with those consumers? And there are some of the questions that we're going to answer today with our guest. So Rainer, our guest, is joining us from he's a marketing consultant in the home improvement area in USP Consultants. Turn on your camera and your microphone there, Rainer, and say hi. How are you?
Hi, Ken.
No stranger to this webinar series. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Looking forward to this and to share some of the insights from our studies.
Yeah, I mean it's a great topic in terms of change. How, you know, are people going to snap back? So we're going to talk about online today. So we're going to talk about the online behaviors and that switch to online that happened during the pandemic and whether that's going to accelerate. Obviously not. You've done some amazing work in terms of data. Now, I presume you're joining us in Berlin, aren't you?
Of course. No, this is an event that I go to every year. I mean, it's the biggest event for this industry, so I always want to be there.
Yeah. Have you had a look at the agenda? Any particular person or session or segment you're most excited about?
Yeah, lots of interesting speakers. Some very good speakers that have been there in the past as well. One of them is Chris Rubach. I remember him speaking a couple of years ago about serving leadership, and that was very inspiring, but also it gave me some tips I could use in practice right away and with my own team. And yeah, and that's of course always nice to not only be inspired by these type of presentations, but also put them into practice right away. So I saw he's going to speak about the DIY in the age of uncertainty. So that sounds, yeah, I'm curious about where that's going to go, and I'm sure he will have a good opinion on that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a little bit insulted that when you talked about returning speakers that you were excited about seeing, you didn't mention me, but there you go. I can't have it.
Sorry, Ken. Of course, I'm looking forward to hearing your vision too.
There's actually a guy I'm looking for, Herman Konings. I don't know anything about him, but I've just seen his title as change psychologist. I've always been fascinated by change and the pressure that change is put on all our businesses. So yeah, look, there's loads of stuff we can go through. Anyway, I'm going to hand the screen over to you. You do your presentation. Again, for everyone watching, please do feel free to ask questions as we go. Type them into the box and I'll pose them to Rainer afterwards, and we'll have a bit of a discussion after your initial presentation. But for now, sir, over to you. Screen share, and let's get through some of the data.
All right, thank you, Ken. I'm gonna share my screen right now. Put it on full mode. There we are. Okay, so I appreciate the opportunity to share some of the insights from our reports with this group today. Some people may still know me from the presentations that I gave at the DIY Summit in the previous year. I'm working at USP. We are a market research agency, and we're focusing on construction, installation, and the home improvement industry. In the next half hour, I'm sharing some of the findings from our research among consumers, the European Home Improvement Monitor study that we do. Give some more facts about the latest developments about online buying of home improvement products. And we actually just ended the data collection in April, so it's a very fresh data. And at the end of this presentation, I will also give some predictions about how it will further develop during this year. I've been in research for a very long time. I started this European Home Improvement Monitor myself 10 years ago, measuring the shift in towards online, because that was already a trend back then, of course, but also the shift from do-it-yourself towards do-it-for-me, changing customer journey, and we're trying to do that for a large group of product categories. And I must say, right now, it is a very interesting time to do market research in the home improvement market, because a lot of things are changing. So the research not only offers insights on a home improvement category level, which I will share mainly today, but also more in-depth information on a product category level. We research over 30 different product categories. And yeah, our business model is quite simple. For just over 9,000 euros per year, we offer these insights 4 times per year in quarterly reports to our customers. And they're getting 11 European countries for that. So our clients, there are anybody from big retailers to manufacturers to consultants to sector organizations. And the goal of this study is to help our customers understand the shifts in consumer behavior when it comes to buying home improvement products. What are consumers buying? Why are they making the decisions that they make? And where are they buying the products? But enough about that. It's time to share some of our market insights with you. And first, I would like to start with the 5 key trends that we see in the home improvement industry in the recent years. Some of them have been accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic that we were in. Others were already going on before that started. The first one is, of course, very much influenced by the pandemic, and that was the growth in home improvement and DIY projects that we've seen. People spend more time at home, so there was a surge in home improvement and DIY projects. So manufacturers, they had very good times, and the retailers as well. They even had problems with getting enough supplies in there. So we had some good years in the home improvement sector. Furthermore, there's been an increased investment in digital marketing, the digital customer engagement and virtual assistants to help customers with their project planning and product selection. I think that especially the DIY stores, their online operation has improved a lot and is much more customer friendly than it was some years ago. Also, we see changes in consumer preferences. There is an increased focus on sustainable, eco-friendly, energy-efficient products. And manufacturers are adjusting their product offerings to cater to these evolving preferences. Furthermore, we've seen a supply chain disruption and challenges in the delivery. And last but not least, the one we're going to talk about today, the shift towards online sales. So the pandemic forced people to stay at home and limit their visits to physical stores. So this really led to a boom in the online sales. And the question of today, is this gonna last? And that's what I'm gonna focus on in this presentation. So as said, I've seen many improvements on websites of DIY stores. And then it was often related about giving the consumers more and more choice, giving them choices about do I want to pick up the product in the store or do I want to have it delivered in my home? That was already possible, of course, before the pandemic started. But the choices that you can make and the speed of delivery that really improved. For instance, if you're now ordering a floor at B&Q, you're available to collect the floor in as little as an hour. Then they prepared the order for you. Another thing that recently has been developed in the Netherlands, it's from Praxis, a DIY store in the Netherlands. They opened a marketplace on their website. So that means that other traders can also sell products from their website or their app. So that's a large increase of their assortment of the products that they're offering for their customers. So their customers getting more and more choice without their expanding their own assortment. So those kind of things are, I think, driving the online share of home improvement products. But now let's dive into to some facts. But before we do that, one more thing. We've seen a lot of articles in the news about the shift towards online buying, but also there were a lot of articles about consumers going back to the store. So now we need some facts on that. Where is it really going? Of course, people have been returning to the stores, especially after store closures. You can see here some decent data on it from the National Statistics Institute in the UK. There you can see how much it was peaking, the online share of products in general. And it dived back afterwards, of course, but still on a higher level than it was before. And I think we've seen this in many branches, but the most important for you is to see how is this developing in home improvement. So in the home improvement monitor, we're looking at the customer journey. We indicate buyers of all kinds of home improvement products, and once we know that they had a project, we're going to ask them all kinds of questions about this home improvement project. We're going to ask them, where did they get their inspiration from? How did they orientate on the product? Where did they buy? What were the decision criteria? Did they apply the product themselves, or had it done by a professional? And did they maybe even the project was purchased by a professional? That is, of course, also an option. So I'm going to take you through this customer journey for home improvement products, starting with the orientation phase. And as said, we're doing this study for already 10 years, and we saw a steady increase year by year of online orientation. It became more and more common for people to use online as a source before buying their home improvement product. And there was a big increase in the COVID years. It went from 44% of consumers that orientated online before their purchase to 48, 49 in 2021, and there's a little bit of a decline in that after that. So you see that during the pandemic, the online orientation accelerated a bit, but now it is flattened out a bit more. If you look at that on a country level, then we can see that countries where there's a lot of online orientation are Germany, Poland, but also Spain and Sweden. And for some of the countries, even in 2022, there was an increase, like in Denmark and Poland. But in most countries, the online orientation peaked in 2021. So that is the first phase, and then we're going into the buying phase, and let's have a look at what's happening there. We see a bit of a similar pattern. Also here we are measuring this from 2013. Back then it was around 2% or 3% of consumers buying home improvement products online. That grew steadily year by year, but after 2019, there was a steep growth from 7 to 9 to 12%, and in the last 2 years, this remained at 12%. Our measurement of 2023 we did in April, and then it was 12% as well. Some might think 12%. That's not that high. I would have expected more of the online share, but that has also got to do with how you look at the numbers. If you would look only from a DIY store perspective and see, okay, which share is purchased online, which share is purchased offline, then the share online would be higher. We're looking at from a consumer perspective, and that means that all the purchase channels that a consumer can have are included in here. So what we see, particularly with home improvement, is that professionals do some of the shopping, especially with the bigger projects. So these are included as well. About 15% of the products that are used in the home improvement projects are purchased by a professional. Besides that, there are specialty stores for flooring, for instance, or for kitchens, that where part of the products are being sold. And there are also some other channels to dive into that. Those are wholesalers for professionals, furniture stores, but also some supermarkets, hypermarkets that sell home improvement products as well. So we not only see the increase in online. In the last years, we also seen an increase in the wholesaler for professional channel. And yeah, that is related to consumers looking for professional home improvement products, or maybe also because of the scarcity, because the low availability of some of the products in their shops, that they're entering new channels, or because wholesalers are focusing in some countries a bit more on consumers as well, next to their traditional customers who are the professionals. So which channel is in decline? Well, the specialty shops, smaller shops, independent stores, they're in decline a little bit, and the DIY shop is quite stable when it comes to its market share. If we zoom in per country, then we see that in some countries the share of online is much higher. Traditionally, UK and Germany have always been ahead when it comes to online buying of other countries, and France and Belgium are a little bit behind the European average. But yeah, we see similar patterns in most of the countries there. If we split by category, the differences are even bigger. For instance, category like power tools, it's way above 25%, the online share. But other categories like heavy building materials, yeah, there the share is of course lower than the average 12% of all products. But also, if we look at the customers that are buying in those stores, we see some differences in generations. The younger generation tend to buy more online. They're average at 15%. If we split by DIY experience, we don't see that much difference between people who are very good at DIY jobs and the people with no experience at all. The only big difference is that people with no DIY experience, who are not capable of doing any DIY jobs themselves, they outsource more to the professionals. So there we can see a share of 30%. But when it comes to the other groups, like the light DIYer versus the hardcore DIYer, yeah, they all buy online. Yeah, what is interesting to see is that the mental availability when it comes to home improvement products is there with the DIY stores. When people think about buying the DIY products, they think about DIY stores. That makes sense. When you talk about online, this could be threatened, because when you think about online buying, you might think about other stores than the DIY stores. For instance, Amazon is very much top of mind in a lot of categories. So we tested it with the question, what websites comes to mind first when you think about online purchasing of home improvement products? And what is good to see here is that in most of the countries, 10 out of 11 of the countries, a national DIY store was mentioned as the number one, so as the highest mental availability. Only in Poland, online retailer was mentioned there. But people, they don't buy home improvement products, or they don't think about home improvement products that much. They think about a home improvement project and the products that they need for that. Paint, for instance. So we also ask the same questions for a couple of other products. We ask it for paint. There we see more or less a similar pattern. Also here, the DIY stores are mentioned the most. In Germany, we see Amazon pop up. So they have a strong position when it comes to paint, selling paint online already. When we look at bathroom products, again, we see in most countries the DIY stores popping up as number one. But if we ask the question for power tools, we see that Amazon is the most mentioned website in 4 of the surveyed countries. So yeah, when it comes to electrical products, we also see it with security cameras, for instance. Amazon has a much higher share than, or is much earlier mentioned than the DIY stores, online operations. So how's Amazon doing in Europe? Because the status is not the same in every country. In some countries, they were active very fast, like in Germany and UK, for instance. In other countries, they just entered or are not that active at all. To get a good overview on that, we asked consumers, more than 6,000 consumers in Europe, if they've purchased any products online via Amazon in the past 12 months. And there you can clearly see what the Amazon countries are of these 11 countries. In the first 5, Italy, Germany, Austria, Spain, and UK, more than 80% of the household purchased something via Amazon. So it's a regular purchase channel in those countries. If we ask the same question, but then specifically for home improvement products, of course, the total share is somewhat lower, but still in the countries Spain, Germany, United Kingdom, Italy, you see about 36-40% purchasing home improvement products in the past 12 months via Amazon. What is also interesting to see is the difference with 2022. In 2022, in April, we asked the same question. And we see that in some countries, there is a big growth rate. For instance, in Belgium, Amazon is not that big there yet, but the growth rate for people buying home improvement products via Amazon is high there. And in other countries like Spain, Amazon was more established already in 2022. So you can also see very well in which countries Amazon is growing in the home improvement market in this year. Besides Amazon, there are also some strong national e-tailers available in the various countries. For instance, in the Netherlands and Poland, you have bol.com and Allegro. They have a strong position there among the consumers. More than 80% of the consumers purchased something in the past 12 months from those online stores. If we specifically look at home improvement products being sold via those platforms, we see that bol.com in the Netherlands drops. Allegro is still pretty strong in Poland, and we see all kinds of other names popping up as the most important non-DIY store that is selling home improvement products in those countries. Furthermore, it's interesting to see what is the opinion of consumers when it comes to online shopping versus offline shopping. Do they prefer to go to a store, or do they prefer to do it all from their home online on their mobile phone or behind their laptop? So we asked them a couple of statements on this to see where it is more fun to shop. So shopping in a physical store for home improvement products is more fun than in online stores, or is it the other way around? Well, the consumers are very much in line with each other in all the countries. Shopping in a store environment is much more fun than online shopping. So the entertainment aspect of the stores is still there, especially in Sweden, Denmark, and Austria. So those probably are countries that can be an example for the others, how to create good DIY stores where people feel like it's fun to be, but also where people feel inspired, because that was the next question we asked the consumers. What shopping environment is more inspiring, online or offline? And again, they said offline with a far majority. This is the balance you can see. 46% more on average in Europe are saying offline is more fun than online shopping. But besides fun and inspiration, you also need advice when you're doing your home improvement projects. So who's better at giving advice right now? Is it the store or is it online? And again, we see with an even bigger results that people say in the store, I get better advice than online. So there still is a lot of added value there from the stores, according to the consumers. Now to close this off, some crystal balling from my side. Why do I call this crystal balling? Well, because I feel that when you talk about expected spendings, for instance, and consumers are answering what they expect to spend in the next years to come. It always is a little bit of crystal balling, because people might have plans to do a home improvement job, but actually don't do it. So for when you're asking this kind of statements, you cannot say this share of people are having plans, so that is what's gonna happen, because you don't know. But you can compare, of course, with the years before and see the sentiment around the plans that they have. And we are tracking this since last year. And if I compare with 2022, beginning of 2022, when we asked this statement as well, people had more plans for home improvement back then. They were planning to spend more money on home improvement in 2022 than right now. So there's a bit of a negative sentiment, but still there is a positive balance. And with that, I mean, if we're looking at the people that are expecting in Europe to do more or to spend more on home improvement, this is 27% of the households, compared to the people that expect to spend less on home improvement, that's only 17%. So the balance is still positive. And there also are some country differences. In Poland, Italy, and UK, people are a bit more positive. In Netherlands, France, and Sweden, there are a bit more people that are expect to spend less on home improvement in the year to come. We also see that a large group is focusing on price with price inflation, and not only the price of products, but also the price of labor. And a pretty big group is not able or not willing to hire a professional for their home improvement projects right now. And the main reasons for that, they say it is too expensive to hire a professional right now, or there are no professionals available, or the professional is unreliable. Those three reasons together is about 50% of the European population, of the European households, that are not open to hiring a professional and prefer to do the jobs themselves. So yeah, on one hand, it is a negative thing for people that are selling products that are often installed by the professionals, manufacturers who are in that business. They have a limited growth opportunity because of the labor shortage. On the other hand, if you're focusing more on products that are done by consumers themselves, this can be an opportunity to support them as they are more price aware. A home improvement project is, of course, much cheaper if you do it yourself instead of hiring a professional for it. And it's a right time right now to bring that to their awareness and to focus on the DIY installations of your products. Furthermore, there's an opportunity in energy efficiency of houses. People are actively looking for ways to improve the energy efficiency of their home. Right now, 50% of the consumers say they are actively searching for energy efficient solution in order to save some money. Again, that is a big topic for them right now. In Poland, UK, they are very much interested in energy efficient solutions. And if we ask the question, are you going to make the investments in energy efficient solutions in the next 12 months? We remain about almost 40%. So almost 40% is willing to do it in the next 12 months. So there's an opportunity there. If we look at the growth of online in the years to come, it is of course hard to predict where is online going. There are still a lot of investments done by DIY stores in further improving the customer experience from their online channel. So I think this will help, and with all the technological innovations like artificial intelligence, like the metaverse, it is quite likely that the share of online will only grow further in the years to come. We also ask consumers where would they prefer to buy the next product that they're going to buy, because we just looked at the results of products that they bought. So that's done in the past. But what if we look at the future and you need a power tool, or you need a new tab, or you need to buy paint? Where would you prefer to do it, offline or online? Well, the majority still wants to buy these type of products offline, and they also want to orientate on the products offline. But if you look at the share of people that want to buy online, that's quite big as well. And the last category is information offline but buy online. So that is sometimes called showrooming. People orientate offline in the store environment, but then order a cheaper product online. This is pretty limited, the share that are doing this. It is much more interesting to look at this share, the people that are getting their information online and are buying online. And you can see that these percentages are way higher than what I just presented that is actually happening. For instance, paint is not at 18% yet when it comes to online buying share. Maybe that's also that people run into problems when they're buying paint. They run into problems like choosing the right color and wanting to see it for real in a store environment, or they need better advice, which they expect to get in the store instead of online. So this is more saying something about the potential for online, and I think there's definitely some room to grow there if consumers want this, and we see they want it, and the DIY retailers are investing in it, and they are. Then I expect that there will be a steady growth of the online channel, the online share in that channel in the years to come. That's it for now. Back to you, Ken. I think you might have some questions.
Absolutely, always questions. See, people always. Lots of questions, and I have some questions of my own as well. But this is a nice one to start off with from David. He says, some say that the DIY industry was not prepared for the online shift during the pandemic compared to other industries. Would you say now that the industry has, and this is a perception question from your point of view, an opinion question, do you think that the industry has now caught up, or in fact maybe even is doing it better than some other sectors?
Yes, in fact, I do feel that way. I think very positive about the developments that I see with DIY stores, with their online operations in the past years. In the years before that, if we talk about like 8 years ago, some of the DIY stores didn't even have an online site where you can order their products. And Amazon was gaining market share year over year. We are actually afraid that they were going to take over for a lot of product categories in the home improvement industry. But I think that that actually by the improvement of the DIY stores online and consumers still having a preference for that, of course there were some issues during the pandemic, especially because some of the products ran out of stock. So consumers didn't have a great customer experience maybe at that time. So from that perspective, you can say, well, they were not ready for this, but who was ready for the pandemic? But I think they really accelerated in becoming better in the online game, and there was a big leap to the online e-tailers like Amazon, who were doing a better job 8 years ago already. But I think they catched up and are now gaining back market share.
Yeah, and to be fair, that was very apparent in that slide you showed, the dominant DIY online retailer in terms of Mindspace being a DIY retailer as opposed to a merchant, an online merchant, except for one country, was it?
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm curious about is, so you showed a wonderful chart that went from 9%, 10 up to 12% now. And I suppose here's a question for you, and again, it's your opinion. Having had all the consumers go through what they went through and this switch to online as a potential channel, why do you think it's not 20%? Like, why are we kind of hovering and plateauing around this 12% mark? I know 9% to 12% is a huge leap in terms of if you look at volumes, but like, why isn't it 20%? Any thoughts?
Yeah, this is a bit our methodology, how we look at it. I don't want to get in too much detail of that because it's a bit of a boring story. But if you would compare, like, if you look like on a category level, like power tools, and you would see how much of that category is sold online or in a store, and you would only look at that because there is no professional buying that for you.
Yeah.
Because they buy it for themselves. Then you're talking about much higher numbers. Then it's about 30%, 35%.
Okay.
So we are there, but in the mix of all the home improvement products, there are a lot of products that are not that well suitable.
Yeah, so it's diluted. I get you. So if we were talking just about paint, just about power tools, we might have different figures. Whereas when you dilute the entire industry, obviously, all the literally nuts and bolts of it comes down to
Yeah, and I also see some consumer researchers that are purely from the consumer looking at where is the consumer buying. And we are also looking at if a consumer is outsourcing to a professional. So professional is buying for that consumer. So that's also part of the channels.
Yes,
from our view.
Now, when you mention Amazon and power tools there, Brian had a question, which was like, why would Amazon have a stronger hold on the sale of power tools than other categories? But like, what is the buyer behavior or the consumer decision process that is different or simpler that makes someone buy a power tool than Amazon? So why do you think that the power tools subcategory is so strong in Amazon?
Yeah, if you look at the electrical categories like appliances, it is much more common to buy products online there. So that's one thing. And I think also Amazon focused more on those categories to upgrade their assortment, to have very good prices there. And I feel that in some of the categories of home improvement, they don't really have any attention for that at the Amazon headquarters. So they're just selling it, but they're not doing a lot of efforts to improve their sales in those categories. But power tools is of course a very important category for them, and also other online shops that are out there selling those. So simply the DIY store, the traditional DIY store, has a lot more competition there. I don't think it's really a consumer choice. I think it's more a choice of the traders that are offering these products.
Okay. And then culturally, you showed a slide earlier on about different countries, and Stefan asks, any particular reason, in your opinion, that France and Belgium would be behind in terms of online sales? Anything in the data or even your own perceptions as to why those countries would be behind?
Yeah, I think it's related to culture. I think they prefer going to the store more and have a conversation with someone they know. Especially the Belgians, they do a lot of DIY themselves, and they have their stores there which they're loyal to.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something of the recent years. In all the 10 years that we're measuring this, France and Belgium has always been behind, but we see a same growth pattern as we've seen in the other countries. So they're reaching the same levels as the other countries, but a couple of years later.
Yeah, interesting. Oliver says he's obviously following your career closely. At the 8th Global DIY Summit, you shared that the trend towards the do-it-for-me side of things had been decreasing. Does that continue to be the case?
Yes, we it's not a topic for today. I don't have the latest numbers up to date right now. But
hang on, I'm going to jump in here. If you presented last year about is that off the year before? Because obviously during the pandemic, of course, do it for me decreased because people didn't have access to homes. People were doing things themselves. They had to. Did that skew the data last year, I wonder?
Yeah, I indeed that influenced the data, but also the fact that people were picking more jobs up themselves. They usually pick up the jobs that are easy to do themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and Alika had the same question in terms of the concern about the future of DIY as Do It For Me grows. So I mean, there is that, as the trade thing grows, but I mean, for me, I think the DIY industry actually has more growth potential. I think both of those. I don't think they eat each other. I think they both grow together. I'll be honest.
Yeah, it's when we started this 10 years ago, then we said, okay, Do It For Me is gonna take over steadily because of the aging society in Europe. The pandemic very much changed that, but it was actually already starting before the pandemic that people were picking up more DIY themselves. Also, because of the labor shortage and the high prices that professionals ask. And I think, yeah, in the long run, it's a positive thing because the difficult jobs, the bigger jobs like a house extension, you will outsource anyway. That will still remain. But the barrier for consumers to do a home improvement project themselves has become lower for a lot of consumers that gained knowledge and experience throughout the past years.
Okay. This is a great question. I must admit, I had the exact same response when this slide popped up as you were saying it. Alicia wants to know, why would any individuals not be actively seeking to improve the energy efficiency of their homes? You showed this, it's 50% actively.
Yeah.
What the hell are the other 50% thinking?
Yeah, maybe they feel they already done it,
Yeah, well, to be fair, I think, I mean, because I leaned forward and read the slide in detail, because yeah, your phrasing of the question is like, are you actively? So actively as well, I'm researching, I'm looking at information, whereas I'm sure the other 50% are probably thinking I should get around to that, but the kind of a more passive approach, I guess.
Yeah, I guess if I look in the Netherlands, the new built houses of the last years, they have a lot of regulations about energy efficiency. Yeah, they're close to like zero emission, or what is it?
Passive.
Yeah, passive houses. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. So if you're living in a house like that, yeah, I think you're not bothering about it anymore because it's all taken care of. But yeah, you would expect anyone to think about this with the current energy prices.
Yeah, you'd imagine so. Here's an interesting one. In the beginning of the presentation, you were just going through some general stuff, and you had this wonderful phrase of, DIY retailers are all doing increased investments online, increased investments in their platforms, and then you said increased investments in virtual assistants. So obviously, because AI is the big topic this year, and not only have we been talking about AI from a retailing commercial point of view for years, this is the first year really that the consumers themselves are starting to understand and to play with chat GPT and all that kind of stuff. So do you think that perhaps AI will fuel the next e-commerce step jump? Because 12% is interesting. Like, will we be talking to each other in 4 years' time? And will it be at 20-25% because of an AI intervention that makes it easier to shop online, maybe a metaverse solution, maybe virtual assistants are taking over. It's not so complicated for me to do all the searching. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of opportunities there. And if you look at some of the statements I had at the end, people feel it's not that much fun yet to shop online. They're not getting inspired. They're not getting the right advice at this point. If we can improve there, if I see that you have some tools on stock. So if we would be in a talk like this in a shopping environment online, and you would tell me about those tools, show them to me, and say, well, this one is very good because of then I might be more willing to purchase it online, and I think it would be more fun as well.
Yeah,
and I get a better advice. So.
Yeah, I mean, I do share that opinion, I'll be honest. I think if you look at the online platforms that we designed, and that goes back 15 years, 20 years, and we've designed them in a very simple, take this and put it in your basket way, very transactional way, basically. Whereas actually there's no real interaction, there's no real depth of connection, there's no real education piece. And those days are it's like 1990s kind of retailing, really. So we need to, I think what the AI and metaverse will give us is that interactive element that maybe people want to use in the store. If they feel that the store is more interactive, they feel it's more fun, if they feel it's more educational, then if we give them those values inside a metaverse environment, yeah, that's when you start to unlock the step jump potentially for online. So I think, yeah, personally, my opinion is that the last 20 years of e-commerce was the warm-up act. It was the support act for what's about to happen. Because like all things, as long as you unlock, it's always technology that unlocks a step jump at some point, you know. And so it was the phone that unlocked e-commerce in a big way for online. Whereas the next thing, yeah, who knows what it'll be, but it's certainly going to be an accelerant again.
Yeah. Therefore, it's an interesting time to be in home improvement right now.
It is, and that's why we're all going to have these wonderful conversations in Berlin in a few weeks. Rainer, thanks you so much. Loads of really great questions, loads of great content, and obviously this will be up online for everybody to watch. And maybe you are watching it after the live event, but if you've enjoyed it and want to share it to some colleagues, and there's some really good data in there. So I think people would be really anxious to share that around their own teams. So Rainer, thank you so much for joining us. I will see you in a few weeks in Berlin. Beers are on you.
That's good.
Look forward to catching up, pal. Thank you so much for joining us today.
All right, then. Bye-bye.
For the rest of you, I hope you all enjoyed that. As I said, this is the last DIY webinar that we were hosting before the big event. Thank you so much for joining us. And I know many of you have tuned into literally every one of them because I see the delegate list. And thank you so much for joining us on that journey. But the journey all, of course, builds to the event that's coming your way in a few weeks' time in Berlin, the 14th to the 16th of June. I really hope to see you there. I'll be moderating a session all around customer experiences. We've got great speakers. My friend Stephen Van Bellingham, who I do a lot of work with, is talking with you again. I know he's been with you before as well. And so we have loads of stuff. And again, I'm looking at the agenda. There's so many different types of speakers. It's taking the theory and the themes that we're discussing from different angles. So trust me, you are going to enjoy the few days. I will see you in Berlin. I look forward to that. Until next time, I'm Ken Hughes. See you then.